Hi, I'm Gabby, and welcome to Gabbing with Gabi. In this series, we sit down with fellow artists who've brought their knowledge and talent to the world via the internet. It's a chance for them to put down their brushes, to step away from their easels, and to talk about themselves. And it's also a great opportunity for all of us to get to know them better. Our guest today is Kim. Kim, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Gabby, and hi, everyone out there. I'm Kim Sales, and I'm an artist and intuitive painting guide, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Awesome. And I'm so happy to have you here. I haven't had any other artists from Minnesota. You're the second female. And so I'm really excited for this.
Me too. I loved meeting you. It was so fun. Excuse me. We met in an art store. So perfect, right? That's kismet right there.
Yeah. My favorite art store. I don't know about you, but I love Blick.
I do too. You know, it's a really nice store. It's easy. You can order online or in store. It works really well. So it was so fun meeting you. I loved it.
Yeah, I totally agreed. Okay, so Kim, do you want to tell us about what kind of art you do?
Sure. So I am an intuitive painter, an intuitive artist. And so what I do is I pull all the information from basically my environment and what's important to me and listen to my heart. And that comes through in all of my art, right? So I don't necessarily go out and paint a landscape or paint an object. I wait for that. Basically, sometimes I'll just start at the canvas with a blank canvas and I'll just wait for the inspiration to hit me and I'll start painting. And as I go, I'll look into the paint, I'll see where it's taking me, and then I will start creating that particular image. So I'm really intuitively listening to what's around me, what is coming through me, and sometimes it even comes through in dreams. Like I'll dream about a subject. It's like, oh, there's an elephant. I'm gonna have to paint that today. So that's how I'll start.
Yeah, I love that. That's, in a lot of ways, that's kind of how I paint, except you do, a lot of different subjects. I just paint landscapes, but just finding what you want to put onto that canvas and letting it develop as it comes.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I find makes the art so much more rich for me. Like sometimes, of course, I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, I'm going to paint this because I've got really inspired by perhaps a photograph I took when I was walking in nature or on a travel and trip, right? And I'll paint that because it just means something to me. But it's something I've experienced personally, right? So I love to take that personal connection with nature, intuition, and then really having a mindful approach to art. So it's that mind-body connection, right? So I'll do meditation and things before as well to kind of connect myself. And then I'll just let it flow. And it's a very meditative practice for me. It's one of those things that I find painting and art is so healing, right? It's one of those things that's always been healing for me. So I like to teach it. I like to live it. It's something I want to share with people because this idea that you have to be a quote unquote artist or I'm not an artist is really a false narrative. It's not really what's true anymore. What you should do is everyone's a creator. We started out as creators in kindergarten and we love to paint and draw and sing, right? And as we grew up, we started to narrow that lens because of other people's opinions, what we're taught, or what the curriculum was or not available to us at that time. So I love to get in there, introduce people to painting again and just playing with paint and enjoying it and using it as a process, not a product driven event. So, and I find that's made me a better painter in my art by just enjoying the process versus, oh my gosh, that's not good enough, right? That judgment, that's the part I like to get rid of. And it's hard, right? Easy to say, not hard to do, but that's where I really what lights me up and gets me excited about painting.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so awesome. That's so inspiring. I think so many people forget about that part where you should be painting for yourself, first of all.
Right? Oh, if you paint for everybody else, then you lose that magic, right? So I was in an artistic career, advertising and marketing for 3 decades or more, and I loved it. But what happened was I was creating on demand all the time for somebody else, and although it made me a great living and I loved it and enjoyed it and the people I worked with, it wasn't what my soul wanted anymore. It was like, I need to do this for me. So I started painting after work. Like I'd come home all stressed out. I'm like, how do I start this again, right? And I hadn't picked up a paintbrush since probably the 80s. So in 2011, right? 2011, I started thinking, I gotta do this for myself. I need to go deep down into that well again of what makes me happy and lights me up. And I found that by doing that, it made my work life more creative, and it made me happy, right? So I was like, okay, here's that connection again. This is why I originally got into art, right? I went to art school at BFA, all of that, but none of that prepared me for the fact that when you start creating on demand for someone else all the time, that magic of what it meant to my soul to paint was gone, right? It was like, where's that connection? Where's my mind body connection and my intuition? Where's this coming? Where'd it go? Well, it went to, what's going to be the ROI? What's going to be, the marketing metrics? Who am I selling to? All this stuff, right? which is really important if you're selling a product, but that's why I don't paint for product. I paint for process.
Mhm.
So, my big motto is, right, what you do is it's like, it's not, you don't want to be a perfectionist. You want to paint to make progress, not perfection. So
Mhm.
that to me has just opened up and just really is what lights me up and gets me excited and helps me in my process. My paintings are better, they're looser. I'm not so concerned about the outcome. I'm concerned about how it makes me feel, right? And that
Mhm.
is all the difference in how I approach art.
Mhm. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
inspiring. Good for you. Good for you. That makes me so happy to hear that somebody's, found that kind of, deeper level of art. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
and I know like there's a lot of narratives around, the starving artist and you can't make a living. Well, that's not true. Like there's many different ways that you can diversify being an artist, right? One is
Yeah.
I paint what I love, and sometimes it speaks to other people as well. They'll buy those paintings, and I also teach, right? So people want to learn this process, so then they can come to me and come to my website, where I have
Mhm.
online courses where you can learn at your own pace, in your own space, right? Things that when people are first starting back into that creative groove, if they haven't done it for a while, it's you get nervous, right? You just get judgmental about yourself, and you're harder on yourself than you'll ever be on anyone else. Like if your friend said, "Gabby, I'm going to start painting," you'd be like, "Great, that's awesome." But then when you first picked up your paintbrush, you're like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. You just get all this weird doubt, everyone else's voice in your head. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's the part that's the magic right there.
Mhm. Yeah. I almost think trying out something that you've never tried before to loosen yourself up is almost a better way to do it, because then you're not looking back at all the, supposed failures you've had in the past. You're just looking forward to trying something new.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And even for artists, like people who painted for a long time, if you want to challenge yourself, paint with your non-dominant hand for a while. Ah, oh, really? I'm going to do that? Yeah, I do that a lot. It's like, this isn't working out. So I'm left-handed. So I'm going to go to my right hand and I'm going to try it. And then there's no expectation. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, well, we're just going to have fun and get into this flow, right? We're disconnecting that left brain, that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
brain that is trying to figure out what's important and is this the best path for you and are you safe here, right?
Mhm.
It's your brain going, okay, we're just going to play, we're going to finger paint, we're going to throw some stuff on the canvas and see what
Mhm.
colors, and leave it at that. And
Yeah.
sometimes 10 minutes a day, that'll make the difference in how
Mhm.
you feel, right?
Mhm. And avoiding what's safe.
Yes, right? Yeah, yeah, absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let me look at my questions.
All right.
Um, what does art mean to you?
Well, art means to me, it's more of a way of life, right? It's like who I am. It's just ingrained in my being now. So since I've started kimsales.com and Lantern Light Studio, this is what I do. I teach, I breathe art, I live it. And I think everyone really is an artist, right? We're all life artists. We're making decisions every day about what's important to you and what you want to do and how you want to lead your life. So if you think about it that way, we're all creating our life is a piece of art. So I just happen to throw it on the canvas, whatever I feel, and that's really it's a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a mindful connection to
Mhm.
yourself, environment, and others. Right.
Mhm.
That's what I think art is.
Mhm. What medium do you prefer to use?
Okay, so I've worked in all mediums. So I've done mixed media, I've done oil, I've done acrylic and watercolor. What I teach and work with mostly right now is acrylics and watercolor because they dry quickly and they're easy for people to work with, right? There's lots of different, great attributes to all the mediums, and actually adore how you can work with oil, right? And how that has that longevity. You can go back, you can rework it, you can make all these amazing tints and overlays and things. So it's wonderful, but it does have the capacity to dry very slowly, right? So then, carrying a canvas around when you're teaching someone get a little hard. So I use the mediums that also there's not a lot of odor to them. Some people are very, they don't like the odors. I happen to have a bird at home, so anything with a lot of strong smells, because they're made of air sacs, he can't have around him. So I don't do scented candles, and I don't tend to use oils anymore because it bothers him.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I think all
absolutely.
mediums are great. Anything you can get creative with, do it.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so you've been doing art basically your whole life, essentially.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Has there anything that you felt came naturally to you?
So I think that art comes naturally to all of us when we're young. There's nothing that we can't do when we're little, right?
Mhm.
And I think that everybody then changes their path as we start going through elementary school, or they call it primary school around the world, whoever's listening to this, right? You start to pick up the things that you're good at. Like if someone's good at baseball versus drawing and they get more joy from that, then they tend to go to the athletics, right?
Mhm.
So I think everybody is absolutely creative and starts with that path. So to me, it came really naturally, and it came naturally to me because I'm dyslexic and highly dyslexic. So when I was going through a world of elementary and everyone was learning to read and write, and it was really easy for them, it wasn't for me. I excelled at art and I excelled at all the right brain activities, right? I could solve problems in my head faster than anyone, but putting it down on paper was very difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely went towards my natural flow of creativity and painting and art and kept that up all the way through my career and college and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I learned to do the rest of it, but art was always there for me. It was really it's what spoke to me and how I communicated best.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
have you had many struggles or anything specifically that you've struggled with in the process?
Sure. I think your inner critic, right? That to me, there's no bigger critic or thing in the planet that will crush a painting for me except myself. I have to get out of that space. I have to say, okay, physically stop. There's nothing wrong with this painting, and I'll give it a rest. Like I will stop if I'm feeling a painting. I was going really well, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. I'll let it rest. I'll let it rest in my studio for like a month, maybe a year. I don't know, but I will let it sit there. I'll just look at it, and I have 5 or 6 paintings going on at the same time because my inner critic, I find that one day it'll be critical, and 2 weeks later I'll look at it and go, I really like that painting. So if I give it a rest, right, like anything, you come back to it, you look at it with fresh eyes and a new perspective. And it's just a learning process. But yeah, inner critic. That's a big buzzkill for I think all artists.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite artist?
Do I have a favorite artist? Mm-hmm. Well, I have a ton of favorite artists, right? I love all art. But I'm trying to think of her first name. Oh gosh, it's Klimt. Is it Eva van Klimt? She was a energy artist that wasn't even discovered until they found her paintings well after she had passed. And right now there's actually a movie on Netflix about her. And I'm sorry, but the name isn't coming to me right. I'll have to send it to you. Her full name. I'm like, okay, why? It's just, it's like the blank page right there. But she's amazing because she worked with energy and what was just coming through her, right? And she actually she predated any of the other artists who worked in that arena. Right, and we're known as famous artists of impressionistic work or work that you're pulling from the environment and your inner self versus looking at a painting or a building, right?
Mm-hmm. That really makes me wonder, especially in the past, art has sort of been, which is strange to me, kind of a male dominated thing, at least what's come to the front. And it makes me wonder how many women out there, pre 18 or 1900, that did art and nobody ever even saw it.
Oh, everyone, because here's the deal. We weren't allowed.
Yeah.
It wasn't an option for women.
Yeah.
Women couldn't be artists.
Yeah.
I mean, the women who were artists were either supported by their husbands to, just have a little hobby. Here's some paint, honey, and here's a canvas. But you're not going to be a great artist just because of your gender, unfortunately. So most of the great masters you see are men, and the reason is that they were able to go to the art school. They were the ones that got the publicity. They were celebrated where women were not doing that. So it's not unusual to walk into a museum where 85%. It's around 85%, I believe. I know I did a talk on this a while ago, so we'll have to check that. But 85% of the artists you see in museum are men. And the reason for that is the last few centuries, it's been all male dominated, supported, right? Women haven't been supported in that venue. What I love now is we're turning that table, right? Mm-hmm. More women, more people are coming online, like you, like me, we're doing it. And because of that, the art world is changing too. Art isn't just for the elite where you can go and buy a painting for $20,000. Art is for everyone. And that's a big thing. Art's for all. And through the numbers and through women like you who are bringing these sort of great talks and messages to everyone, that's the juice, right? That's what we need. And there's a lot of us out there, and we're now making a difference by doing things just like this and talking about it. Yeah. Exposure, right? Let's keep talking and keep getting our message out there, and people are going to listen.
Yeah, and encourage other women.
Yeah. Most of the people that I train and work and guide with are women. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. So yeah, it gets me a little choked up. But yes, women definitely need that creative validation in their life, and working with it. And people who've never painted before, they're just gems. They're really fun to work with too, because it's a whole discovery that they're almost, they're just brought to tears by when they start playing with paints again and creating. So yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Well, I think I kind of covered that one with the intuitive part. Yeah. So But it comes from within. And like I said, sometimes I'll even dream.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll kind of get a block. Like all artists can get a block. Like, what should I paint? And then you get in your head, right? So what I'll do is before I go to sleep, I'll say, all right, I'm leaving it up to you. Whatever I see in my dream, I'm going to paint, right? Whatever you want to call it, source, God, the universe, whatever you believe in. It's just, I use source. So I just ask, show me something to paint. And usually I'll dream it then, or it'll just come like, oh yeah, that would be perfect, right? I look for signs and symbols outside, right? And what I mean by that is like if I'm on a walk and I see like 10 cardinals, like, okay, that's a lot of cardinals. I'll look up what that means, right?
Hmm.
What that symbology is. And I'll say, oh yeah, that's the message for me today. That's what that means. I'm
Hmm.
going to paint a cardinal. And then I'll work with that imagery and that symbology.
Hmm.
Get it going. And that's what kicked off my new endeavor of creating a certification, creating a process where I'm teaching a process called sacred soul symbols, right? So discovering your intuitive truth and what lights you up inside.
Hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? The
Sure.
certification that you're coming up with?
Yeah. So what I've done is I have been working with 5 specific symbols that have been around since the dawn of time, essentially. So symbology, we're all symbolic, right? Right down to the emojis that we're using now on our computer. Before that, we had cave drawings. I mean, honestly, eons ago. So we've always been communicating with symbols, and before the written word, our alphabet is symbolic, right? What we put together creates a word. So it's something that we've been dealing with and working with our whole lives. Some people aren't as in tune to that, right? They just take it for granted. Oh, here's an emoji. Oh, we're going to put some words together. Here's that. But when you start thinking about the basis of what that is and what that means, it all comes down to your experience, what you're experiencing in your environment, in your space, right? So I've created a 5-step process that'll walk you through discovering your soul symbols that have been around with you your whole life that maybe you haven't even been aware of. And I think a good example of that is I was thinking about this as I was creating this course, and I thought, what are the symbols that I've been drawing and working with my whole life? And I haven't, I thought, my God, I looked back at some of my art that I created in high school and before. I've always been working with dolphins, bees. It's crazy. I paint them all the time,
Hmm.
and dragonflies. It's
Hmm.
like, you'd think that I would have made that connection before, that and turtles. These are some of the things that I paint all the time.
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of the things that were in my environment, right? So
Hmm.
turtles and all of that. Grew up by the St. Croix River, and I was always in the river, so all these things live around there, right?
Hmm.
And in lakes. So this is my environment. These are the symbols that are important to me, but it's constant. So it's funny, like if you look at one of my paintings, you'll always see like one of these little symbols probably in a corner or somewhere cropping up.
Hmm.
Flowers. Yeah, so those are the things I look their symbology up. And I work with that, and I work with you to figure out exactly what lights you up, and then to really what the symbols are telling you and help you on your path, and bring in that meditative, that painting as a meditative modality to kind
Hmm.
of enrich your life and connect you again with your intuition and your creativity.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool. Let's see. Why did you decide to start doing YouTube videos?
So yeah, this was one of those things where I actually had some resistance. I had resistance about doing things like this. I mean, yeah, I had a corporate career where I spoke to people all the time, but showing my little underbelly to everybody that this is who I am now, this is what I do, and blah blah blah. It 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 was hitting me in a different way. Like, who's gonna want to listen to me, right? And I thought, well, that's the imposter syndrome. And I've been doing art my whole life, and you know what? I'm just going to get out there and do it. And I took some courses, and I met some great women, and they were doing it. And I'm like, you know what? We've got this great sisterhood online. It's like, let's get out there. The only thing that would be a shame is if we didn't use our voice, right?
Hmm.
What we're trying to tell people is get out there and do it. Paint, do whatever you need to do. And sometimes you have to use these mediums. Being in advertising and marketing, there's nothing better than getting your word out digitally because it's free. Here we are,
Hmm.
we're doing this free. People will watch it or they won't, but that's just the way it goes. And so, yeah, I started YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Hmm.
And I find I'm newer on the YouTube scene. I mean, I've had it for a while, but I'm not as um, prolific in that as I am on Instagram, just because it
Hmm.
takes a little longer to create the content. But I'm getting better at that too. It's a process. So I'm trying to be easy on myself and do that and create content as I go. And so I started the Daily Dragonfly, which is basically my process of just waking up and painting every morning for 10 minutes to set myself up for the day, right? And center myself. It's a little me time, that self-indulgent portion where you spend time with yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes. Because I think a big important message is don't think you have to set aside 2 hours to paint. That's not true.
Hmm.
You can start something in 10 minutes and then put it down and come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do layers. I do it in a process that makes it easy and accessible. And so you can fit it in. You can do it at your desk at lunch. Like if you're in a corporate career, like we're going to get a sketchbook out and we're going to show you how to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that will just bring you back and center you, especially if you've been in back-to-back meetings for, 4 hours like I was at corporate. And then I'd have lunch and I'd be like, how do I decompress? And I'd go for a walk. And I started bringing a little sketchbook and like, this is great. And then I'd bring a little, paintbrush, those paintbrushes that are for watercolor that have the water in them. And then I could just, paint anywhere. So yeah, all these fun little ideas that help you reconnect and center yourself, it's even better than breath work. And if you combine the two, 3 deep breaths and then a little bit of painting for 10 minutes, set yourself up for a really nice day.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's so inspiring. That's so awesome. Do you have other hobbies outside of art?
Yeah, of course. I love to travel. I'm a boater. I love to boat. I spend a lot of time out in the water, but that just inspires me to paint, right? So I'll bring my watercolors out in the lake with me and I'll sit on the back of the boat and I'll dip my brush in the water and I'll sketch and I'll paint. Yeah, and I love it. So I combine it. That's the beauty of being able to just use it as a process and take it with you anywhere. Yeah. So yeah, I love to travel. I love to boat. My husband is a big gardener. I was not. I had boater's lawn. I admit. I mean, literally, I just I didn't promote lawn growth at my house. And we got married. He has this most amazing English garden around our house now. And so one of our routines is we get up, we have a cup of coffee now, we go out to the garden and we work on it together. Mm-hmm. And he goes with me and thinks of, let's do this. You could paint here. So we kind of inspire each other to try different things. So now I garden. Even the other this morning, he said, you've turned into a really good little gardener. I'm like, and yeah, I didn't like to, when we got married, I was like, you want me to dig in the dirt versus go in the boat? Yeah, I don't know. Right. But now that I see how beautiful all the flowers, all the animals are in the yard now, the bunnies, the chicks, and it's just, we have hummingbirds and all the birds it's just really nice. I really enjoy it. So diversifying creates that magic that you want to create more art. So it's like this lovely spiral of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it helps when it's springtime and we're not shoveling snow anymore.
Right? Oh, yeah. So we really needed this spring. I'm like, oh my goodness. We were ready to pack it up and move anywhere. Right. When we get like 102 inches of snow, I mean, it was a lot. I mean, and I like snow. I think it's stunning and beautiful. And I feel like I'm in a snow globe when it snows outside. And because I've chosen this path of teaching art and becoming a full-time artist, I don't have to get stuck in traffic. But when I was working corporate, I would have to drive through that. And you'd have the dreads. Like you get up and go, oh, please don't let me get an accident in my way to work today. All the bumper to bumper traffic, ice and snow. And it was a stressful way to start your day, So now I just have a cup of coffee, look at the snow globe. And that was a choice. Like I knew that moving from corporate to a full-time art career would mean a lot less financially for me at first, right? Mm-hmm. But spiritually and what my soul wanted, I'm so much happier. I mean, I don't have to deal with any of that, and it's just like it's like taking off a blanket of weight, mm-hmm. Everything's better now. Mm-hmm. And I've adjusted to, not having the kind of things that I had before as far as monetarily, because what I have now is so much more important. Mm-hmm. I'm just a much happier person.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of money, do you sell your work?
I do sell my work. Yep, I sell it online. I'm not as worried about selling my paintings as I am about teaching and selling, helping people learn how to create themselves. Mm-hmm. But yes, I will sell my work. Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I'll do commissions. I'll do, mm-hmm. someone wants an energy painting. I'll do that. I'll connect and paint what comes through mm-hmm. for them. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's less of what I do but it is, I'm open to all of it. Right. I think as artists, we have to be open to all different avenues to help us create a living. Right. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. teaching or I'm thinking about doing some art fairs, right? There's a lot of great ones around here. haven't because when I go to them, like that's gonna be so much fun. Like I've got a lot of wonderful watercolors I've done that would make great like greeting cards or prints. And so I sell a lot of prints online. Like I do a lot of my paintings, I do prints and things. So I have what I call everyday art up on my website on kimsales.com. And so I sell mugs and pillows and laptop cases, you name it. I put my art on objects, and a lot of people love those and buy those. So that does really well. Selling more of a higher price item, those go slower, but they do go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I almost feel like if you want to continue to create, at least for me, it's like I have to get rid of stuff or I will never have enough room to keep going.
That's true. Right. Well, and we had talked a little about how prolific a painter you are. Like you've painted how many paintings in the last 2 years?
Yeah, about 14, 1500 now.
See that is like, wowza. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yay, awesome. I think that's wonderful, but I don't paint that many. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah.
But if I had that many laying around, you bet I'd be out there I'd be selling them. I'd be trying to hit art fairs, selling them online, all the avenues, right? Because you got to move that out. And I find too that, when you paint, it's putting your energy into that canvas. So it's fun to not get rid of, but move out of your space and sell and share with someone else who wants the energy. So you can have room for more, right?
Yeah.
You need more room. And just more room in your head too. Like, I've got all these paintings, I have to move them out. Like, even having at your house, like here's a sale going on from this point to this point. There's a lot of artists that do that from their home, right?
Yeah.
To clear that out so they can make room for more.
Yeah. And when I sell a piece and I see somebody, they'll go through my paintings and I see them stop at one or stop at a couple of them. And just, you see the happiness that it brings to people. And it's so great to create something that brings other people happiness.
Yeah, you're connecting. These are the people that are going to follow you and probably purchase more from you, right?
Yeah.
So do you sell yours mostly online or in person in area?
In person, actually. I would need like a full-time employee just to sell my work online, because I have 500 or 600 pieces right now. And so it's like, I just have so much that it's like, I don't have time to do online, but I do like art fairs, and I bring them to I do historical reenactments. And so I paint and then sell at that. And so, yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Love it.
Yeah. So I'm like you, like that too, where I like to bring, hobbies together. I travel too, and I bring my paint, and I travel when I paint, or I paint when I travel, and whatever direction that's supposed to go. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But I think that's creating the art that's your life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who don't paint. Maybe they knit, maybe they crochet, they do whatever, but that sets that meditative creativity that lets them sit with themselves for a while and just be in that space. And that's really important. So it's not all about paint. It's whatever lights you up, man. If you like to bake and you like to cook and you just go out there and bake 1,000, like I have a friend who bakes all the time. She doesn't eat it necessarily. She gives it away, but she loves to bake. And one who's actually a friend of mine who's actually making baking as their side hustle, right? So now she's selling cakes and they're amazing, but she loves the act of creating that piece of edible art. So yeah, art's in many forms, right?
Absolutely. So many forms. So many forms. Let's see. What do you have advice? Goodness sakes.
All right.
What advice do you have for anybody who's just getting started in art?
Oh, well, just do it and play. Process, not product, right? So try to leave your inner critic and your judgment at the door, because I think the biggest thing people make a mistake with art is they think they have to be quote unquote good or an artist, right? And if they don't think they're the comparisonitis, they compare themselves to everybody else, and then they think, oh, I'm not any good, which is not true. Because everything in life we've had to practice that, right? Practice makes progress. It doesn't make perfection. So you didn't get into a car and drive on the freeway the first time you got into a car, did you? Nobody did. Nobody expected you to, right? So why do you expect of yourself to be like, oh, that's a perfect, like if you want to draw a flower and it's not perfect, then you think, oh, that's not any good. And then you like, I'm not going to show anyone. And then you start to shrink. When art shouldn't be shrinking, it should be reviving, right? So if you want to start somewhere, start playing with paint. Pick your favorite colors and just draw circles. That's it. Just play. Just bring that play back. Like if you sat down next to a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old and you gave them both a piece of paper, one brush and one color, and you said paint, the adult would just sit there frozen, and the kid had already had like 5, oh yeah, they're just ripping papers off. And that's the difference. We limit ourselves because we think, get into our head, we just gotta one color, one brush. Just play with paint, see how it feels. And notice the energy, notice the shift in how you feel. And you don't have to do something the right way. There is no right way for art. I don't believe it's a whole. I know some people aren't going to agree with me who are artists, and then we've struggled. Well, you know what? That's your story, and I'm fine. But my story is everyone can do it if you practice, right? Practice
and you're not going to love everything that you do.
Oh my God, no! Oh no! I don't. Not even close. Like I'll look at some of my paintings, like that's all right. But you know what? I look at it as, what did it teach me?
Yeah.
What did I learn? And one of the most common questions I get is, okay, you definitely have a style. How did you get your style? Well, my style is my own. And the reason it is because I do some painting that's meh, and I don't really like it. I focus on the portion that I do like, and I paint more of that. And I paint over what I don't like. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll never take a painting and leave it just because I don't like it. I'll take a painting, look at the portion I like on it, celebrate that, and paint over the rest of it with more of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my style.
Mm-hmm.
So intuitively, it comes full circle and it just becomes my style, right? Because I'm painting what I like. I like what I see here in this little section on this huge painting, and I'm just going to start repeating that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, or
Yeah.
like that brush stroke or what have you. And I just keep that up. I don't set out to create a style because I think that, again, you're just leading yourself down this path. I have to be a certain way. And that's not what creativity is about. Creativity is about coming from what's inside you. And if it makes you happy, paint more of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And I've heard that question from a few people too about, how do you develop a style? It's like, don't try to force yourself to develop a style because you will never be successful doing that.
Correct. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Because once you start down that rabbit hole, I have to do this way, I have to get a style like this, or you look at someone else's art. A lot of people also say, oh, I really like the way this other person paints, but I don't want to paint like that. Well, I got news for you. Everybody pulls from everyone. Like if you look at Monet, or if you look at a great master, or if I look at your work, there's gonna be something I see that I like. I'm like, I'm gonna do that sometime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that you can kind of bring that into your fold, right? You become better at what you do, and your paintings will always be uniquely you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna be able to paint like you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be able to appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to paint you. I want to paint like me.
Yeah.
Right. And so the biggest things too is don't try to develop a style like someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try anybody else but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're true to yourself and you just paint what you like,
Mm-hmm.
of what colors you love, let's start with that. Then you're going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's like when I try to paint abstract and it's like that just doesn't work because abstract isn't my style. You know what I mean? So
Right. And it's something you can explore and you can look at for yourself, but you may have like 20 abstract paintings in your place that you don't like, but you've worked on that canvas. You're like, well, I've learned that. And I may use that brushstroke in one of my landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so I do that too. Like I'm looking at a landscape right now.
Yeah.
And I've done them and I think they're beautiful and I love them. But
Mm-hmm.
I love to paint now from intuitively. So I'm painting, like you'll see behind me, that is a mandala. Well, I've got a wolf there. So
Mm-hmm.
white Tara, and then there's my bear. But paint a lot of, like I said, symbology and what's important to me. So that wolf and that bear were from actually a retreat that I had up in Ely, Minnesota. And so we went and we visited the wolves and we went and visited the bears and we felt their energy and we had fun spending time in nature with them. And then we talked about painting wolves and bears, and that's what we did. So we took a topic, but we felt the energy first, and then everyone got to paint whatever bear or whatever photograph they took of that bear. They could do that, right? Or they could look it up online for inspiration, but no one painted the same thing, right? I didn't say you're gonna paint that or you're gonna paint that. We're gonna paint bears and wolves. What you choose, I'll help you through it, but that's your path.
Mm-hmm.
That's your painting.
Mm-hmm.
What you want intuitively it to look like.
Yeah.
See, my wolf, all different colors. A lot of people didn't want that. No, fine. Paint one that's brown and white and all the beautiful colors that they actually come in naturally, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Don't let anything kind of box you in. Go the direction you want to go with your pieces.
Right, exactly. Because if you start painting for somebody else, that's when you're going to lose your inner truth, right? What's important to paint. And a lot of people tell you what to do because they're afraid to do it themselves. Like I have a lot of friends who go, oh, I really love it when you do your dragonflies. Why don't you do more of those? Well, I do them all the time, but I don't want to do them all the time. They want to encourage you, but what they think is going to sell, like they're focused on, oh, you could really sell a lot of those. I'm like, yeah, I could, but that's not why I do art, right?
Yeah,
I do art because I love it.
Yeah. I just told somebody this morning, they said something about, somebody said, that I should do more of this. And I was like, whenever anybody says to me, you should do more of, I just cut them off right there. And I'm like, I should do more of whatever I want to do because I'm the artist and I'm doing this for me, not for you.
Exactly. Right. And they don't mean it in a bad way. Right?
Yeah.
But that kind of gets in your head like, okay, we're gonna have this conversation of why I don't want to paint something that matches your couch. Because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
You see a painting that inspires you that you want to put in your living room, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to hire me to commission a painting, that's a different thing. But telling me to paint, you should paint more of these because people want to hang them in your living room. Well, great. There's a lot of artists who do beautiful work already that they could paint that. And I do not, I think all artists, whatever they paint, I love it. Right. I may not want it in my house. It may not speak to me, but it speaks to them. And so it's important. It's important work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Let's see, what other questions do I have for you? a lot of the stuff we've sort of touched on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do bonus questions. So we're going to move into my little bonus question
Right.
land. And so these are my bonus questions for you. Question number 1. What is your favorite thing about Minnesota?
The water. All the lakes.
Mhm.
Hands down, water, baby. I'm a Cancer. I love to swim. I love to boat. I love to be in the water. I like all the water sports and how people gather by the lake and the river and have picnics. And yeah, it's just, I love the water.
Absolutely. And what is your least favorite thing about living in Minnesota?
Plowing. And I live in Minneapolis, and I've got to tell you, they don't plow very well. So just getting out of the snow, and it's funny. Like, I talk to my family in England. My husband's English, and they don't have any of these issues, right? So it's like, yeah, well, we just got 18 inches of snow, so I'm not leaving the house for a good, I don't know, 3 days.
Right. Yeah.
Like, really? So really, I love Minnesota. I love all the seasons. I love the snow, but yeah, slush and plowing and ice, and yeah, that isn't my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Okay, so bonus question, sort of number 2-ish. If you could try any other type of art that you've never tried yet, what would it be and why?
I'd like to try a caustic painting with waxes and things. I haven't done that, and because I really think that the depth and it's an ancient type of painting, and I'd like to learn more about that. So I'd like to work with an artist that does that and take some classes from them. Yeah. I love clay too. Me and my husband took some pottery classes, so I'd like to do more of that. I love the sculptural side of clay. I like making pots, but I think I'd be more into the slab work and the sculpture part. Yeah.
Cool.
Love it.
Awesome.
And Steve liked it too. He loved throwing pots, so there may be a potter's wheel in our future, because that could be his great outlet that he likes besides gardening. Yeah.
I always say that, like, I'd have to win the lottery first, because I've thrown pots before and that stuff goes everywhere. It's such a mess, and it's like I'd have to have a standalone building with shields on the walls before I could do that. But yeah,
pretty much. So that's kind of why we haven't done it, because we have a smaller home. It's like, we don't know where to put it, but you can always take classes, and there's lots of great places here in Minnesota where they teach clay and the clay arts. So
yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, so I guess we're just about done. Do you have any final thoughts that you kind of want to share with everybody?
Yeah, get out and paint. Get out and knit. Get out and do whatever you like to do, but just do more of it and make that time. Give yourself some centered time with it, and just 10 minutes a day. Because everyone's busy and they have all these schedules, kids, and just everything you think gets in the way of any kind of me time for you. And you know what? That makes you more creative, and it's just a gentler approach to yourself, that if you spend that time doing self-care, right, and a little art and a little creativity, it's just going to make you that much happier, right? It's a stress reliever. So yeah, so just get out and do it. If you don't know where to start, I got plenty of courses online. Go there. Go to kimstyles.com, because they're made for people who've never painted before. And no judgment. And yeah, I've got a lot of people who've never painted before. So yeah, happy to give myself a shameless plug right there.
This is the perfect time to do it. Where else can people find you?
Right, exactly. So they can find me online at kimstyles.com, on YouTube, The Art of Kim Sales, and on Facebook, I've got Lantern Light Studio. So, and all these things, if you just go to my website, kimstyles.com, all of it's there, all the little links, so you can just click on all the social areas you can find me. They all have slightly little different names because something may have been taken or not, but it's all under Kim Sales. So yeah, you know how that goes, right?
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, come up with something completely original, put two words together that's never happened in the world before, and that's what you can,
that's I'm just sticking with my name. It's like, all right, there we go. It's not exciting, but there it is.
Yeah, and it's simple.
It was simple, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Kim, well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a great chat. And it's just been a real honor. I think it was just kind of a serendipitous moment that we ended up meeting. And
absolutely, those are the best kind. Yeah. And we need to spend more time together. We need to go and have coffee. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. I would totally love to do that. We will set aside and we'll figure something out to do, because that would be great. So
okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate your energy and that you do this. Yay.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And thank you for coming on. If you guys have not, go to her YouTube page, go to her website, see what she does. You can just see in the background some of her work. She's absolutely incredibly talented. So it's very, 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 very talented. I love it. I absolutely love your work. So awesome. Okay, guys, I think that's it for our interview today. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section of the video. We'll do our best to address them. Again, I'm Gabi, and this is Kim. Again, make sure that you guys hit her up, like her stuff, follow her, and definitely see what she does because it's very unique. Until next time, I really do hope that you guys fall in love with painting and art just as much as we have. Bye, guys.